Welcome to the Building Doors podcast, where we celebrate women breaking barriers and building what's next. I'm your host, Christy Harst. And today I am so excited to be joined by Ally Eclarin. Who is she? Listen, she's the co-founder of the W Sports Bar, Cleveland's first women's sports bar. Woo! Yay! Ally and her team set out to create a space where women's sports take center stage, not the sidelines, and where fans can come together to celebrate the games, the players, and the community. Before launching the W, Ally helped start State Champs, a woman's sports-inspired coffee shop and streetwear brand. Streetwear! Her journey from passionate fan to business founder is all about representation, risk-taking, and reimagining what inclusion can look like in sports culture. Yes! We'll talk about how the W came to life, what it's revealing about women's sports fandom, and how Ally is building something bigger than a bar. Folks, she's building a movement. Ally, welcome to Building Doors! Yay!
Thank you for having me. I'm excited because when we first met in person, we just clicked. Like, we forgot we were there for what we were there for. So I'm curious to see where this is going to go because of how much we click and we talk. So it'll be fun.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I remember Ally and I were on a panel at Tennis in the Land for Women in Sports Day. And she came up to me and we were talking, just chipping and chapping. And somebody had to come grab us and say, hey, it's time to go be on the panel. And we're like, but no.
Yeah, I forgot what I was there for. I was like, oh, I thought we were just, because we were talking everything. We're talking astrology, everything. It was great.
Oh, we still have to get with that lady. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to start off with talking about these two bold concepts that you launched. First of all, it's one thing to go do a W Sports Bar, but you had already done State Champs, and both are centered around women's sports and inclusion. So where was your mind at? What were you thinking when you were like, yeah, let's start Sports Champs? Oh, and then sure, let's do W Sports Bar. Like, what made you take the leap and say, this needs to exist?
Yeah, I'm big on the universe and I'm big on signs. And the idea for State Champs has been in my head since I was in college. I'm obsessed with coffee. I'm obsessed with women's sports. And I always had this idea of merging the two. And I was laid off twice back to back. I work in tech. I've worked in startups my whole life. And the nature of the beast is you're going to get laid off. There's plenty of data on why this happens, but it's part of the risk of working for a startup. And I got laid off the second time. And I was like, the universe is telling me something. She is telling me, girl, go chase your dreams. Go do the thing you love to do, which is take the skills I've acquired throughout my career and do it and put it towards something I'm passionate about. And I've had this idea for a business where people can gather as a community, whether it's enjoying a cup of coffee, food, a drink, whatever it is, but being in a space that celebrates women and women's sports and their accomplishments. So that was really what was kind of the like, you got to do this moment. Was the universe was like, we're just going to keep pushing you until you're forced to do the thing you're meant to do, as well as like the merch component. I've been a graphic designer my whole life. I've wanted to wear things where I'm proud of the teams and the players I love, but it wasn't out on the market in the way that I wanted to see it. So I was like, if not now, when? And like I said, the universe, you got to do what she says, or she's just going to keep making you uncomfortable.
Preach on that. Like I have a similar story that, I wanted to be a voice actor, but I never took the plunge. And it wasn't until I got laid off and fired that I was like, oh, she's really telling me, because I didn't listen the first two times. So she's going to slap me down and be like, you got to do this.
Yeah, that's how it works. So that's how it all happened.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about this concept that you just highlighted, where there wasn't enough gear or there wasn't enough swag out there that you wanted to wear. And I think it brings up an important point. I have a daughter who's 12 years old and she plays golf and flag football. There are no jerseys of women football players that my daughter can wear, whether it be flag or tackle. There are no clothing lines or like gloves or socks or whatever for golf, right? From Nelly Korda, the women's number one golfer in the world, for her to go buy and wear. In fact, and this kind of touches upon a little bit about watching women's sports, my daughter can't tune in on Sundays and watch Nelly Korda golf. She can't watch any women golf. It's not something that is publicly broadcast, and nor it's really hard to find the U.S. women's national flag team to watch them play on TV. So what was it about this lack of this lack of products that you wanted to wear. Is it still in existence? Do you feel like it's still in existence today? Do you feel like when people come into the shop, what kind of stories do you hear about, oh, I've been wanting this, I've been needing this?
Yeah, it's a big thing. Like even like where this really started was selfishly, I wanted to wear these things, these moments, and I say I'm perpetually online, especially in the women's sports world where it's, rest in peace, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. There's so many great moments that happen in sports and in women's sports where you're like, oh, I want to wear that. If you just look across any timeline, people are like, I would wear a shirt that says X, or I would wear this, or I would wear my favorite player's thing because she had a great game, but because of the way the industries work, they're not going to make my favorite player's thing. I'm going to have to make it myself. That's kind of how I've always been. I mean, I made the first thing I ever made was my own magazine, like my J14 competitor when I was like 8 years old. So that's kind of my mentality. And it's still a thing where I don't see the things that I would love to wear. And the same thing happens with fans or people that I talk to. They're like, my team is not the best. It's not the number one seller. The player I love is super niche, but she's amazing and I follow her, but they don't make anything for her or even stuff that follows a thing I'm passionate about, whether it's, something that means a lot to me. A campaign we did with state champs was about ending abuse in women's football. It was a big thing that was going on. It's still prevalent in women's soccer, especially of just those in power taking advantage of their power with these athletes. And there wasn't anything that had this message of like, we're standing together for these players. And I think that's crazy that it didn't. So we took it upon ourselves with one of the supporters groups and made that. So this stuff is always going to happen, unfortunately, with sports of just like whether it's great moments or moments the community needs to come together. And they don't exist in a way that people can be proud of it or want to wear it and support it physically with a clothing piece.
So let's talk about why more businesses aren't doing what you're doing. Because in my mind, in the data that I've collected with Building Doors, and I won't get too deep into it, but there is a direct line to millions, potentially billions of dollars lost by not being more inclusive and marketing towards women who have 83% of the global purchasing power. So why aren't more companies doing what you do? Because you'd think they'd want the money. They want the money grab.
Right. Honestly, I don't think they have the right people in the room, whether it's someone who's a champion for these stories, for these women, for the community. There isn't those people in the room. And I think a lot of it goes back to, look at who is sitting at the table making these decisions. It's usually, let's be honest, white men. It's men.
Yeah.
There's rarely a woman at the table. And if she is, maybe she's not at the position where she can speak up. But you can tell from those companies that do have the right people at the table. I think Dick's Sporting Goods is a great example. They have a lot of women at the helm. They carry WNBA merch in their stores. They were quick to have Angel Reese's stuff in the stores. They're very good at understanding, like, women do buy things. Women sports fans want to buy the things, and they addressed it. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses haven't figured that out, or, misogyny is at play where they're like, no, we're not going to do that. But business is business. If you want to make money, that's where the dollars are. And I wish more folks would figure that out. But I think it comes down to they don't have the right people in the room at the table.
And for so long, there haven't been
Mm-hmm.
enough women at the table. And until
Mm-hmm.
that changes, and until the women in those positions feel as though they can speak up, because I've met women in pretty high positions at
Mm-hmm.
major brands that don't feel like they can speak up because it would be jeopardizing their job. So even though they fought to get
Yeah.
there, and it's great that they're there, they can't be as loud as they want to be. So
Yeah.
every time someone creates something new,
Mm-hmm.
something different, especially that challenges the societal norms, there's some
Mm-hmm.
pushback. What kind of resistance or skepticism do you face, or did you face when you've started these ventures? And maybe you still continue to get it. I want to hear some juicy stories.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. So I've always been this person, even as a kid, where I see it as totally normal that men and women should be equal and that there should be equity, there should be equality. I was the girl playing flag football, two-hand touch. It was tackle until the school was like, hey, it's got to be two-hand touch. And then I went to flag because they didn't want me to get hurt. So I've always been that girl in the room and just being like, why can't we do the same things? So that's just my mentality as a person. So I kind of laugh sometimes when we get like people that are like, well, women's sports isn't this or women not like whatever it is that is very like again a misogynistic view. Because I forget, I'm like, oh yeah, these people exist. Like I sometimes get like an awakening of like, oh yes, there are people like this. Because I'm very blessed and that I surround myself with people that are for equity and equality. I have a pretty good group around me. So no, we've had people, especially when the news came out of us opening this women's sports bar in Cleveland. Don't look at Reddit. Don't look at comments. Comments are a very interesting place. In fact, we had one of the first comments we got. We ended up turning into our Pride shirt this past June. So the comment was, "It sounds like a Subaru dealership waiting room with spirits." And immediately we're like, first of all, that sounds amazing. I would love to drink in a Subaru waiting room. Like, why is that an insult? So we've definitely had a lot of those like stereotypes and just men behind keyboards. So that's probably one of my favorites because we end up making money off that comment. So thank you, random internet troll.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Turn it into something. Yes, please. Do you still sell those shirts?
Yeah, we have a few left. That was our Pride drop. It's really funny. I love wearing it to the gym because people are like, it's such a like tap me on the shoulder, like I got to see the front of your shirt or whatever it is. But yeah, especially when we first opened State Champs, we opened in Kent, which is about 40 minutes outside of Cleveland. It's a college town. We did a college town first because as your first business venture, it's a little daunting to start in Cleveland. That's a big city when it's self-funded. So we started in a college town. My business partner went to Kent. So we're like, oh, college towns are very like forward thinking, women's sports, women's rights, LGBTQ rights. That's not something that should cause, eye rolls. It did, especially the part of town that we put the business in, and people were just taken back by whether it's a pride flag or they walked in and women's sports were on the TV. But the crazy thing is, and this still happens with the bar too, is yes, we play women's sports on TV, but we also have the NFL Network. We also have the Guardians, the Cavs, because people are fans of both. And for some folks, they just can't grasp that concept that women's sports fans and women like more than one thing. So we definitely got some people that feel some kind of way, but all in all, it's been pretty positive.
And so you just casually mentioned some awesome shirts. If someone wants to buy something, where do they go, Miss Ally?
We have statechampsco.com and then the wsportsbarcleveland.com.
Awesome. So if you want to go search for that Subaru shirt because you want to be all cool and fire, as the young kids say, you can go. That's a fire. You can go to that website and look for that merch. So it's interesting because I'm curious what kind of stories or what kind of comments you hear when people walk into your shops, whether it be State Champs or whether it be the W. Like, what kind of feedback do you get, especially from first timers when they walk in?
Yeah, they walk in and they kind of take it in. So if you've never been to the bar, we very much curated it so it felt like, I like to say it feels like a museum and there's so much to look at. Not in an overwhelming way, but we wanted it to feel more in that space of like, I always compare it to a lot of bars can feel like a dorm room or a frat house.
Yes.
Or your dad's basement. That was not what we wanted to go for. I mean, we have a gold-plated basketball hoop. We have a chandelier. We have basketball art. I made all the art, minus one piece we just put in is from a local artist, but all the art in the bar I made. We wanted it to feel very elevated, right? We wanted it to feel like you walk in and the lighting is warm. There's paint on the walls that you're like, oh, okay, I feel cozy. So when people come in, they're like, oh, this isn't what I expected, especially from folks that you can kind of tell this isn't like they normally wouldn't have ventured in here. One of my favorite stories is there's an older gentleman. He's probably in his 60s or early 70s, diehard Guardians fan. He lives near the bar. He wanted to watch the Guardians, and we have really big windows, so he caught the TV that the Guardians were on. Not a women's sports fan, not because he's anti it. He just, he's older.
Yeah, never watched it. Right.
Yeah, never watched it. It was on TV. So he came in and he was like, I love it here. This is my favorite bar. He tells his family, he's like, this is my favorite bar. He tells me, he's like, we'll put you on Facebook. I love when older people come in because they're like, I'm going to put you on Facebook. I'm going to do your marketing. I'm like, bless you. Thank you. But we've had him, the season's over now, but every Guardians game, he was there. And you would not expect someone like him to probably be in the bar, but that's a lot of the times what happens. We have those stories of people coming in. They're like, I love the vibe. Like, I know that sounds like such a thing to say, but that is the biggest feedback we get is like the vibe is good when you walk in the door. It's good energy from like the staff, the menu, the music. We have a no jerks policy, like top to bottom. And I think that shows. And the fact that you can watch, a Guards game next to a women's soccer game, next to a women's flag football. Like there is no like separation of church and state in that capacity. It's just everyone's welcome.
And what was it like when you opened the W and even State Champs? Because what I'm asking is, how did the community accept you? How was the community? Were you surprised? Were you shocked? Or were you like, yes, this is what we expected?
Yeah, they're two very different experiences. The coffee shop was a little bit one of those things. It kind of felt like a movie where there was like we came on some turf, like someone else's turf. It was very contentious at points. Um, so that was a whole different experience. I really love the part of the state champ story that I love is our store, our community that we've built that spans across this area. Like we have fans outside of Ohio, we have people that wear our stuff to games outside of the state. So that's probably my favorite part of the story. State Champs, as the physical brick and mortar within Kent, was not well received. It was just very much like territorial. Felt like high school at times, or at least the stereotypical experience of high school. The bar was very well received. We moved really quickly. We announced in November. We got the keys to our location in February and we opened May 1st. So it all happened really fast. And we were very intentional about having community events leading up to it versus like, we're open, maybe you'll come see us. We wanted people to be along for the ride. So, I mean, we literally announced it 90 minutes. I posted it 90 minutes before we opened on a Thursday. We didn't want to like do the big, I personally didn't want to do the big like grand opening because we wanted our team to get their sea legs. So I posted a video. I didn't even like do a great video in my opinion. Like I just had this idea of filming the video, or excuse me, filming the exterior of our building. And then I had cast flip the open sign. So I was like, as I pass flip the open sign and I'll pin up, that's our video. Posted it, went decently viral. We had a line out the door, and that was 90 minutes. We were open at 4 p.m. I think I posted at like 2:37. So is that even 90 minutes?
Wow.
Yeah, I that was kind of my plan. I was never going to make it a big thing. We had our grand opening 2 weeks later on the 17th with like the Cleveland hot dogs were there. We
I
had
love the Cleveland.
people lost their mind over the Cleveland hot dogs.
So if people, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but people who are listening who are not from Cleveland, the Cleveland hot dogs, they're these mascots for the Cleveland Guardians, and they come out and they run the bases in a race. And there's mustard, ketchup, and onion. And like on the side is a slice of bacon. Like there's bacon too, but she doesn't really race. But Onion is the only girl, and Onion always wins on Mother's Day. But they have this race. And these 3 darn hot dogs, by the way, Onion also has a purse. And I have had my picture taken with Onion and held her purse. I just want to say I feel special. So anyways, these 3 hot dogs, people can ask them to come to their weddings, to kids' birthdays. It is like an iconic cultural thing of Cleveland to have the 3 hot dogs at any kind of event. So the fact that you had the hot dogs, you knew you were doing something right.
Oh, we were like, okay, who do we want at our grand opening? I was like, it has to be the hot dogs. We've become good friends with the Guardians, and I love it because Onion. I have a video. Onion got like people were cheering for her. People were emotional. It was like their Backstreet Boys because they were like chanting her name and she was jumping. Like that is Onion's place. They now have a 4th hot dog that is also a woman. It's spicy mustard.
Spicy mustard, yes.
But she can't do events until like next year. It's like their first year they have to be in stadium only. But it was one of those moments that like it was very culturally Cleveland where it was everyone's like, oh, okay. I think it set the tone because everyone got like their autograph. They signed our wall of fame. They got pictures. So that was really fun because we wanted it to be Cleveland because it is Cleveland's bar at the end of the day. So we wanted it to feel that way from day one.
So you kind of touched upon this, but I want to expand on it, especially for people like I know running Building Doors. The campaign really wouldn't be what it is and what I'm hoping it's going to be without partnerships. Let's talk a little bit about the partnerships that you maybe didn't realize were going to be the most important in these 2 ventures, in State Champs and the W. Like what kind of partnerships came up? Because for me, I will have my eyes set on this one partner, right? And I keep on working and working. And then all of a sudden, somebody I didn't even know was watching comes through and provides exactly what I was asking for from this person I haven't even had a chance to talk to. Let's talk about community partnerships.
Yeah, we've been really lucky. So if it's not clear by this podcast, I love talking. Obviously, Christy and I, we hit it off, right? I love to talk. That is probably my favorite thing of any, whether it's State Champs or the bar, that I love to do. I love just getting to know people. I am a fan of small talk. I am that person that will make small talk with the person at the grocery store ringing me out. I'm sorry. Maybe that makes me a serial killer in some way, but I just love talking to people.
Not Dateline.
No. But I've been really lucky that we've gotten to just really, and it's funny, we were just having this conversation yesterday with this journalist who came through Cleveland. she was trying to understand the Cleveland culture. And Monica from Greater Cleveland Sports Commission, she said something that I think is relevant to your question, which is you can network your way up and through where you want to go in Cleveland. And she's like, I don't know another place where you could do that. Cleveland is definitely one of those places you could network. If you're just a good person or you have a goal in mind, you could network your way to where you need to go in Cleveland. And
Mm.
she nailed it because now, I've gotten to work with the Guardians, I've gotten to work with the Cavs, the Charge, the Cleveland WNBA team. It's what started with the Cavs evolved to actually what started with the Charge first because they were fans and they reached out and they gave us a jersey and we got to do the game ball delivery, which evolved to the Cavs, right? They're in the same umbrella, which evolved to the WNBA team, which we got to work with them. We've had worked with them on their announcement. We had a party the day the bid was like confirmed that we got the team. So it's just one of those things that has been really awesome that those days where I'm like, God, this has been hard. And I've had a lot fewer of those days because I have this kind of like reality check of like, we've done a lot of cool stuff in such a short amount of time. Um, it's very cool to see that like we've gotten to this point where we have these, I have these people in my phone that if I needed the hot dogs, that's something I could get the hot dogs. Um, my kids got to say play ball for a game in June for the Pride game. And that was really cool.
Aw,
I think the best part also is like my kids are reaping the rewards. They get to
of
have all the
course.
perks. They're getting
Yes.
spoiled in that way, which is
Yes.
really cool. But no, just the partnerships that open. And I just, like I said, I love talking to people. And sometimes I'll be talking to someone and they're like, oh yeah, I'm XYZ. I'm this person. I'm this person. I'm like, oh snap. And I have this energy where I will just we're friends. Like from talking, we're friends. Like I don't really have an ego in that way. If you're a cool person, like let's exchange numbers. Let's figure out a way we can just like stay in touch for any way possible.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but that's been the really cool
No,
part.
you did. And what's I think great about your answer, and I think it kind of is it ties into something I feel is very timely right now.
Hmm.
And through Building Doors, I talk to a lot of different people, a lot of different brands, and people are craving authenticity. They want to talk to real people. This
Hmm.
concept that AI, you don't know what's AI, you don't know what's AI and what's real.
Yes.
People are done with it. And what's interesting is that I have not, no one's ever said it the way that Monica said it, which is in Cleveland, if you're just a nice person and you're authentic and you have a goal that you're trying to accomplish, you'll get to where you need to get. And it
Mhm.
reminds me of this t-shirt that I bought from GVA Art. Is it GVAA or GVA? And it says, be nice and work hard the Cleveland way. And I
Mhm.
feel like that sums up so much about our community and also ties into what you were saying. Like if you're just authentically yourself and you
Mhm.
just talk about what you're passionate about, and I would like to think that that extends beyond Cleveland, that it extends to just good human beings, right?
Mhm. I think so. I think authenticity is just something that people just can sense. I mean, especially with AI, with social media, that is the biggest thing I hear all the time from people is people just want to be in a room and have community and face-to-face conversations. So many people just want to be off their screen.
Mm,
Um, they just want to be able to have a conversation with people because whether it was from the pandemic or the fact that we're also online, they just crave that social interaction. And I think even if you're an introvert, we so to explain why I say introvert. So at the bar we have two kind of setups. We have a community side, which is the introverts, the ones that want to be part of the trivia, raise their hands. They'll do open mic night. They love that. That feeds them. That is something that really energizes them. Then we have a side that you want to be part of the party, but you're like, I'm not raising my hand. I'm not being social in that way, but I want to be around a community. That's the types of people I see often at the bar is they're very introverted, they're quiet, but they just like to be in the space where the things are happening. And that's why we
mm,
designed the bar that way. So you don't have to feel like you're like, oh well, I'm not outgoing. I don't know if I want to go to a watch party. That's totally fine. We have a part of the bar that you can still be part of the party without being in the party in that way.
that's so nice.
But that to the point of like community, that is a very like I would like to think it happens more places. I've been very fortunate to see it in Cleveland because everyone is so authentic. And don't get me wrong, like there are jerks in Cleveland, like any
Of
other city.
course.
Like it's not a perfect city by that way. There are people that have egos and whatever it is, but I like to just not let those people mess up my day. Um, and I'm big on like if I meet someone who is authentically them, I think of like the different artists or people that I've met through different things. I'm going to bring you into the fold. I always make mental notes of what people's passions are. and be like, I'm going to find a way to work with you or connect you to someone that can help you. And the
Mm.
person I'm thinking of is the artist that we just put her art in the bar. I met her, I forget which event I've met her. I've seen her at so many things, but she's just grinding. She's grinding, grinding, grinding. And I've been in different rooms with her, and I'm like, you should go talk to Allison Howard, which is, the president of the Cleveland WNBA team. Is Allison's become a good friend. I'm like, you should go talk to her. She appreciates people that are passionate, especially women that are doing their thing. And anytime I'm in a room with this person, her name's Lucy Bailey, I'm like, go, that's who you need to go talk to. She was at
Right
the Tennis in
there.
the Land event. I'm like, that's the person. Anytime I see someone I know that's like, if there's someone else in the room that can help them with their thing, I'm like, go talk to her, go talk
Hmm.
to that person. Because that's how it happens. And I think what's really cool is like, if you can open that door for the next person, like, why not?
But don't you think that that happens more with women? And it's also
Oh, yeah.
something that has to happen with women because men won't do that for women,
No, I
by
think
and
you said
large.
something at the panel we were at. I think you talked about a story or some sort of example of that. But no, I to date haven't seen a man do that. Not to say there aren't men that don't
Right, right,
or
right.
do. I haven't been privy to that, but no, women. I think we just have this inherent nature to look out for each other
Hmm.
and open the doors for each other. Again, not to say there aren't women that don't. I've met those
Right,
women
right,
too.
right, right.
I think we all have, but I find more women are like, let me help you. I do believe rising tides raise all ships. And I usually see that behavior with women.
Yes, me too. And I feel like I would not be where I'm at today if it wasn't for women making the
Hmm.
introduction, making the call, or cheering me on amongst their groups. And I think that's something
Hmm.
unique to women that doesn't exist um, over there in the male gender.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but if you guys are doing it, I mean, go, good for you. Good for you,
Yeah, good
men.
for you.
Yeah, proud of you. Good job. You guys fail up all the time. I love that for you.
So you talked a little bit about the fact that you have created all the art in
Hmm.
your bar, in the W Sports Bar. You also talked about creating content. As voice actors, we increasingly need to be our own content creator. We need to be our own business manager. We need to be all the things. How do you manage running these businesses, doing content creation, employee management, the finances, all that stuff? Because I think a lot of people can learn from how you balance all those things. And do you have a plan, especially when it comes to creating content? Or is it those things where it's just in your day to day and you're like, ooh, that'd be cool to post, and you do it?
It's a mix. So definitely when it comes to like the finances and the employee management, I'm very lucky that I have a business partner. Cassie handles all of that. I think one of the biggest things I learned I want to even say early in my career, it's probably like middle of my career, is if you're not good at something, pass it on. You don't have
Pass it
to,
on.
you do not have to be good at everything. You really don't. If someone is better at the thing, let them do the thing. I've had teams before. I'm like, I hired you to do the thing. I'm not going to micromanage me, girl. If that's your thing, do your thing. I don't need to be good at everything. I need to be good at the things that I want to be good at and the things I am good at. So thankfully, Cassie handles all operations, logistics, employees. Fine, like that is her wheelhouse. I love to stay in my lane. In fact, if you ask anyone at the bar, my favorite question or favorite thing to say is that's a Cassie question, which then and then things I ask her, she goes, that's an Ally question, because we know where our line in the sand is, because it helps us just get stuff done. So when it comes to like content creation, designing, I'm doing the November calendar right now. I'm working on some designs for different events and things we have going on, merch, etc. I'm big on just making a list of what I need to do, but also knowing like, and this is the biggest thing I learned as a parent and just a woman who is a former and recovering workaholic. There's going to be some days where I'm a really great parent. There's days I'm an amazing partner. There's days I'm going to be an amazing business owner, creator, whatever my title is with the bar and my endeavors. There is never going to be a day where I do all those things perfectly. There isn't. That's just not a reality. There's only so many hours in the day. Um, and there's some days where I'm like, I really gave it my all as a parent today, but gosh, I did not look at my emails for the last couple hours, and that's okay. So that's how I balance it. There are some days where I'm like, realistically, do I need to get this graphic done today? No, because I can do it tomorrow. I've already posted twice today. If I post again today, the algorithm's going to screw me. Like I do all these conversations in my head, but I like to get ahead and help what I say future Ally. And I make so many templates and things. So another thing is I'm very online for all the brands to be culturally aware of what's happening. So a great example is Paige Becker's had this video she made with a ring. I was like, I'm going to make content with that ring video she did. So just being online. So you can have a plan to a degree, like for the big stuff that
Mm,
requires other lifts and partners and whatever it is for events, but staying present in the moment of like this big thing just happened, or being aware with our community of like what's happening on our street, in our neighborhood. So it's a mix, but my biggest thing is to balance it all. Is I know I'm not going to be 100% in everything I do. It's just not feasible. I'm also a girls basketball coach, so I have time out of my day to do that too. Um,
for one of your kids?
no, that's my favorite. I coach girls basketball. I currently coach a sixth grade team,
Oh
and
my gosh.
my plan is to just coach girls basketball and design. That's like the goal.
Oh, that's the
That's how I want to.
goal.
That's
Oh,
how
I
I want to spend
love
my
that
time.
goal. I
Yeah.
love that goal. You know, it's interesting, Allie. I had this moment of clarity when you and I were on the panel. Allie and I were on a panel for Tennis in the Land, as we mentioned before. And the moderator asked, as a mom, and as a businesswoman, how do you manage it all? And then the next day, I don't know if you went, but the next day was a larger event with a larger panel. And the moderator asked all of the women on that panel the same question. And I thought about my answer. And then I thought how cringe it was. Have you ever had one of those moments where you're like, oh, you gave an answer and then you're laying in bed and you're thinking, or something pops up and you're like, oh God, I can't believe I said that.
Oh
And
yeah.
my answer to the question was, you can have it all. You just can't have it all at the same time. And I thought I was really slick. Like I thought I was really,
Thought you dropped a bar that day.
I dropped a bar. Yeah. And then the next day at the larger event with the larger panel, the same question was asked and a woman gave the same answer as me. Ah, clutch my pearls. Oh no.
She's
And,
quoting Christy.
yeah.
She's
Okay.
quoting you.
Stealing my stuff. And then I sat with that for a while and I thought to myself, I don't necessarily know that there is an answer to that question. Number one.
Hmm.
Number two, I think the real response should be, why aren't you asking men that question?
Oh, men never get that question. Never. They never get that question. It's wild. They always ask a woman what she's wearing and how she does it all. Those are the questions we get. And who's watching your kids? That's my favorite. Oh God, where are your kids
No.
right now? That's
And
making me laugh.
part of it, I just I think about it and I'm like, if I'm ever on another panel and or podcast or whatever, and someone asks me that question, how do I politely say, we don't ask men that question?
Mm-mm.
We don't ask men how they do it all, how they handle home, life, being a wife or being a partner or
Hmm.
being a parent or getting the kids to and from this. So why are you asking me?
Yeah,
Because
they
until
don't.
that narrative shifts, until we start asking men those questions, we're only, and I haven't gotten this down right yet, but aren't we only further perpetuating the
Hmm.
stereotypes of women?
Yeah, no, we really are. I don't know why this popped in my head as you were explaining this. There's this meme on the internet. It's like, have you ever looked at like a woman and how she carries things? Like women, we can carry our phone, our lip gloss, hand sanitizer, our key, whatever it is. Our coffee, our tumbler. We have this weird like multitasking ability that we can hold multiple things with ease. A man can barely hold his computer, his phone, whatever, one thing at a time. We can make all our fingers work. We can hold it. Like we're just resourceful and we can multitask that way, which I love that for us. But it's a similar thing. Like we just do it. Women just do it. That's why I think a lot of the time when you get asked that question of like, how do you do it all? It's like, I just do it. Like I don't think how do I do it? I just do it. I execute it. And men, I don't think have that thought in their brain because they're never asked how do you do it all. But I would love if they stopped asking women. I mean, I would like to think they're asking powerful women because they're also maybe trying to motivate a next generation. I would hope. I'm an optimist that way, but I would love to see them ask some CEO or some president or even just a man, how do you do it all? And I think they'd be surprised because the man would be like, I don't do it all.
So now my goal is to become a moderator on one of those panels. So I
Yes.
can ask that question, because I don't want to make this come off as though we're male bashing. I think that inherently women are better multitaskers than men. I'm sure there's plenty of data that we could pull up to prove that. I just think that's a natural thing.
Hmm.
I think what I'm trying to get at is, are women, by asking that question of other women, are we only further perpetuating stereotypes that are out there? Are we encouraging that you do have to multitask all the time in order to get things done? And then on the flip side, if we start asking men these questions, maybe the well-intended ones will say, my wife, my partner, my
Hmm.
team. That's how I'm able
Yeah.
to get everything done, because we have a babysitter, or because I hire someone to clean the house, or we eat out 3 times a week and I earn enough money to make that happen. So I don't have to cook. You know what I mean? Like, maybe
Yeah.
then we'll start to get some honest and authentic conversation about how people get stuff done.
Well, that is the reality of it, whether it's men or women. People have help. Like there's a reason why since forever they say it takes a village, right? It does take a village. And that village could look like either you have someone hired to help clean your house, or you meal prep, or you DoorDash, whatever your resource is. Um, and sometimes it's just like, no, I block out Tuesday mornings to clean the house. Sometimes it's as simple as that. But I think it's just a conversation we need to start having to just kind of make it either one, we're doing this right now, right? We're making it aware that like this is a question that primarily women get asked. And then the second part is get Christy on all the panels so she can moderate
Yeah.
and
All
ask
the
the
ones with
men,
the
how do you
men.
do it? Yes.
All the
Well,
ones with the men.
when they have a panel, they always have to have at least one woman. So there you go. They always do that.
Always the one token woman, right?
Yes. Hmm. Yep.
So you've created spaces that celebrate women's sports in really tangible ways, right?
Hmm.
What's your bigger vision? I mean, you've already shared personally you want to coach girls basketball and do art. But for the W, for the state champs, or just for how women's sports are experienced in Cleveland and beyond, what's the big goal for Allie?
My biggest goal for both has always been I wanted to be seen as equal, as equitable. And what that looks like is I have a dream that one day you will go into any bar, wherever, not just necessarily Cleveland, any bar, and you will not do a double take that women's sports and men's sports are played in the same business. That shouldn't be weird. That shouldn't be
Mm.
weird. In the same way that you ask someone their favorite athlete, they shouldn't say, well, it's Steph Curry. Okay, well, and Asia Wilson. No, it should just be said in the same sentence. That's always been the thing that for me, I would love to see as a human being. That's how I see it. If someone asks my favorite player, I can list them off, and I don't be like, oh, well, it's also no. Like Asia Wilson speaks and is on her own in the same way that Steph Curry's on is. Like you can say them in the same sentence. Both their games can be played in the same bar. Um, what's funny is I have 2 kids, and I think one of my favorite things ever is there was one time, God, my daughter must have been 3 or 2. She was maybe 3 or 2, something like that. And I had a Warriors game on. I'm a Warriors fan. And she was taken back. She's like, why are boys playing basketball? Like, that was not her norm. She was like, why are boys playing basketball? And she was just so sincere about it. And I was like, oh my God, your norm is you're so used to me watching women's basketball. Like, you were like taken back by it. And then a different thing had happened where my son is so used to me watching women's soccer. And I think I had a Man City Premier League game on, and he was like, "Oh, boys are playing soccer." Like he was just like, "Hmm." Again, they're not used to that because I kind of watch everything, and they were so used to women's sports on TV. And I think that is where the generation is coming. I mean, you see the stats that, um, with the WNBA, so many of these fans. There's like data that shows a lot of the fans are young boys, right?
Mm.
You see this cultural shift happening that the youth doesn't care if it's a women's team, a men's team, whatever. They're like, no, she's a great player. He's a great player. I see it at the school. I love when I see like kids wearing like a Paige Becker's shirt. I'm like, that's so cool. Cause like when I was younger, it was like a man on a shirt, or whatever it is. So I think that's changing. And yeah, to answer your question, I would love to see that overall where it's just normal. Like there is no, issues with that. And as far as a pay gap, right? The women get the same facilities as the men. The women have the same access to equipment. They have the same access to, yes, they're both on ESPN or they're both on whatever it is, and they have these great streaming deals. They have the same rights. You see this happening with the WNBA right now. They're fighting for equal share of the revenue. There's tons of data that the men get 50% and the women, God, it's less than 10% off the top of my head. not to like get the data wrong, but it's really small. So I just want equity. Like it shouldn't be other in any way. And I don't know why it is. I just was fighting this yesterday. I'm on a board for baseball, softball, and we were arguing over the fact that the boys team gets to play outside in this great weather on a great turf field and the girls are inside. Why is it like that? It doesn't need to be.
Mm.
And it's a lot of back to the point of your question. Like a lot of it is like people don't even realize they're being biased. They don't even realize, like, I watched eyeballs like click of like, oh, I didn't even consciously do this. I put the girls inside. It took someone going, how are we going to make this equitable for the girls? And they're like, I didn't realize it wasn't. It's having those conversations. So more of those conversations happening, more of it being equal, all that, and world peace.
And world peace.
And world
P.S.
peace.
World peace.
Yep.
I you're a mom to two young
Mhm.
children. I've met
Mhm.
them. Gorgeous.
Mhm. Thank you.
We actually were at the same soccer kickout event recently. Downtown Cleveland had a soccer kickout. It's where they have these like mini courts,
So
and
cool.
it's so cool. It's right on the lake. So you could
Mhm.
sit and see the lake. They had, pizza ovens there, blase woo
Mhm.
woo. It was great. So there's a men's kickout, and then there's a women's kickout. So I took my two kids, a boy and a girl, and then my daughter has friends who play competitive soccer, and I invited her to, say, hey, bring some of your friends. So I brought this group of kids down there, and my son plays soccer. He plays on a travel team. He loves soccer. And I sat with my son and watched. I think it was a college team versus a team of moms. And then we watched another game of some local leagues against one another. And these are women. And what I absolutely loved, is that my son would commentate almost to me. He's like, oh, look how that girl just did this. Oh, did you see that kick, mom? Look at that footwork, mom. And so I think that just as I have a responsibility to my 12-year-old daughter to instill in her to stand up for herself, to advocate for herself, to be strong, I too have the responsibility to show my son women doing things and excelling in things that he is interested in.
Mhm.
And there's an organization that I'm really hoping I can get on the podcast. It's a man I met at the WESPN conference in Brooklyn, New York. And he runs this organization where he goes to India, in the slums of India, and he teaches kids at an early age all various sports, specifically sports that they've never played before. So it's an even playing field. And he brings, for example, let's say American football. He brings girls and boys and they play on the same team. And so statistically, girls are, they learn physicality quicker. They're more coordinated quicker. It's just nature, right? So what happens is these girls end up excelling quicker at these new sports than boys. And so now boys are seeing girls at a higher position physically. And then they'll purposely make a boy and a girl a captain of one team versus a boy and a girl a captain of another team, where now the boys have to accept coaching from their fellow peers. And so it really tears down all of these notions of masculine being better, that men are always better. And so I think that a lot of us right now is important for those of us that have children to kind of instill these things. What are your thoughts? I know you agree with me, but what are your thoughts about, or what could you recommend to people about bringing girls and boys to these kinds of events, even if they're not sporting?
Yeah, I think anything where you can see something where it's either gender excelling, especially women or girls. My biggest thing as a human, as a parent, is I don't ever, and since I've had kids, I don't think I've even did this pre-kids. I never, or I try to do my best, and I know it is a societal thing to unlearn how to speak it. I don't assign genders to things that are like a doctor, right? When kids play doctor or firefighter or whatever play things they do, I never assign gender. And I'm really big on that, to like, I make everything a she, because I'm going the flip side of it. In fact, I used to do this in team meetings when I'd be like talking to engineers. I'm like, oh, she's not working today. And I'm like talking about like this like platform we use, or like I use she for everything. And one time this guy asked me, he's an engineer, he's like, why do you say she for everything? I was like, because everything is by default a he. And I want people to unlearn that. So why can't it be a she, right? You always
Yes,
say like
right.
he for a doctor, or like that guy cut me off. Sometimes it is a guy, but sometimes it's a woman.
Hmm.
Like whatever it is, I try to do she. So as a human and as a parent, I don't assign gender. I never assume. I always say they. That is what I do, especially, I am very respectful of like the non-binary community. Everyone has their thing, and that is what I want to respect. So with all that I do, I say they, and then I always ask. But when I'm saying stories of like athletes or whatever, it's like they did this, they did this. I don't want it to be where men are on this pedestal and women are like an afterthought. I just don't. And I think a lot of it is how we use our words. I will die on this hill, but the best book I ever read, it's called Nonviolent Communication. It's by Marshall Rosenberg. It's just how to communicate. The title is very aggressive when it doesn't need to be. But it's essentially, as humans, our language is very aggressive, right? You think of, you made me cry, right? You hear that from kids all the time. You made me mad. No, the thing you did made me mad. The thing you did made
Mm.
me cry. It's just having intentions. And that's how I use my words with people I talk to every day. It's how I teach my kids to speak. It also helps you not take things as personal. It's just things like that, to just learn language of the biases that we have just because we've grown up in society, to like, again, assigning he for everything. You're saying something, you're like, he. Well, doctors don't have to always be he, especially nowadays. All I see are women doctors, and I love that. That's my advice for people. That's what I try to do, is just be very conscious and unlearn the things that can unlearn, and just teach teach the next generation to just have more of an open mind. I'm very like into therapy. I'm very good into like, I get down to like my kids level, like physically when I'm talking to them, especially with coaching, I make eye contact at their level, meeting people where they are. I'm big on that. Like I could probably do like a whole podcast on that. Not to go like down that lane, but that's the stuff that's important to me. And that's where I've noticed it make a difference.
Gosh, if everyone would do that, this whole world would be such a better place. Just the
I
just the
know.
switch, just the switch
Just
in
a switch.
mm-hmm, in how you
Yeah.
talk. So I
Hmm.
have two more questions for you.
Okay.
One is, let's say somebody has been listening to this podcast and they're like, wow, Ally started two businesses that were all about gender inclusivity in sports. Wow. I wish I could do something like that. What would you say to them?
Do it. There has never been a better time with technology and the access that we have, whether it's, you can open up a YouTube channel tomorrow, right now, while you're listening to this. You can make an Instagram account. Canva's on your phone. Like there's so much technology. You can start making TikToks, and you don't have to necessarily be good at it. It just has to get captured by the algorithm. Like you don't have to also wait for the gratification or the success of it. You can just create the thing. There's never been a better time to start a business, right? We have LegalZoom, we have all these things. And it was so much harder. The first business I started was out of college because I was 19. I thought I knew everything. And I was like, I'm going to start a design and screen printing business. I didn't know anything about taxes and businesses and spreadsheets. And boy, did I learn the hard way. But now it is so much easier to do those things and learn, right? We have Shopify, we have Squarespace. They're built for people that maybe are not into technology or know their way around the internet, and that's okay. I say do it. I'm the biggest thing. If like, you have a passion that makes you happy, do it. Like, do the research. I know some people love a pros and cons list. They love looking at research and reviews, like the people that look at Amazon reviews before they buy a shower head. I'm that person too. Just do it. I mean, life is so short. If you can do something that makes you happy, I know it sounds like something your high school counselor would tell you, and hey, she was right. Like, do the thing, but also adjust expectations. It doesn't have to be a success for you to be happy. It doesn't have to be like, oh my God, we're making millions of dollars and I can quit my day job. But if it's an outlet for you, I mean, that's how these businesses started. I had different versions of these things that were outlets for me when I was working crazy hours at a startup. And I was like, this isn't filling my cup in any means, but this is. That's why I still design to this day, even if it has nothing to do with my businesses. I love doing that and it fills my cup. I don't get paid for it. I just am happy. In the same way people like to tinker with GarageBand and make music, or they like to, build stuff in their garage, whatever their thing is. I think just do it, but also adjust expectations with it.
Ally Eclarin dropping bars. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, so last question. And I
Okay.
ask every podcast guest this question. What does your door to success look like?
I know you said you were going to ask me this question, and right away, the door is purple. It's my favorite color. It calms me. It makes me happy. It's a purple door, and I also know what time of the day I'm walking through this door. It's between like 7 and 10 a.m. when the sun is coming up. You still have a lot of your day left, which I think is kind of a metaphor. There's so much ahead of me. I don't feel rushed, right? I have a cup of coffee in my hand. The door is kind of like a warm, I don't even want to say like, I'm thinking suede. I don't know what the texture is, but it's soft. It's not like necessarily a hard door. I open the door. The room is warm, not cold, not hot. It's warm. Um, Sun is beaming. I love when the sun is coming up during that time of the day because you just feel like you have so much like opportunity at that time of the day. You're like, I could go to the gym still. I don't hate myself yet because I skipped the gym. I still go to the gym. I could still do my errands. I could still answer my emails. Like I haven't disappointed myself yet with all the
God,
things I
that's
didn't get
awesome.
done yet. With
That's
all the things
awesome.
I didn't get done yet today. That's why I love 7 and 10 a.m. because you're like, I could be anyone. I could be her today. Um, but that's what the
Yes.
door is. I walk in and I'm like, okay, I have so many things I could get done. It's just warm. The sun is beaming. There's music on. It's jazz. I love jazz.
Mm.
Um, and you're just like, okay, I feel good. I have a comfortable pair of shoes on. I most likely have my hair in a beanie or thrown up in a bun as I'm walking through, and I'm just like ready to get stuff done.
I love it. You hit so many like tension points for women in that, like so real, like that 7 to 10, I can still be her. I
You
don't have
really
to be a
could.
failure.
But that 7 to 10 a.m. window, you're like, I can accomplish all the goals. That 7 to 10 a.m. window is like the sister to the night before, where you're like, I'm going to start working out tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to clean out the fridge or I'm going to do whatever. Like, those are sisters. They
Yes.
really are.
And
Hmm.
yes, yes. And I feel like when you're describing your door, it feels a little prince-esque. It feels
Oh, that's
right.
so weird.
Like,
I'm so not a princess person, but I just love
no, no,
comfort.
no,
That's so funny.
Prince,
Oh, Prince.
the
Oh,
artist
Prince.
Prince.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
The
Okay.
artist
Yes, I
formerly
love
known
Prince.
as Prince. So,
Yes.
you know how he was wearing that suede or something purple suit?
Yes.
That's what your door is made of, sister.
Yes. That's what it reminds me of. Oh, I love Prince. I love purple. I love
I
all of that.
know. And it's such a
Yes.
deep, good purple.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Well, Allie, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with us. You did drop serious bars. And I know that people who will listen to this will walk away inspired. And also, this whole idea of it doesn't have to be perfect to do it.
Mm-mm.
Just do it.
Just do it. Because sometimes the stress of not doing it is worse than the stress of like, oh, it didn't meet my expectations.
Mm-hmm. Just
Yeah.
do it. Yes,
Just do it.
Allie. Yes. Well, once again, Allie, thank you for joining us. And thank you to the listener and viewer now on the video for joining us for the Building Doors podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please consider supporting us on buymeacoffee.com/building doors. Together, we're elevating voices, building doors, and making space for the next generation of women building what's next. Thanks for joining us. Until next time. Bye.